It started with a trembling hand and a single envelope marked confidential. Inside the police headquarters, a veteran detective, Michael Carter, sat alone in the interrogation room he'd used for 25 years. But this time, he wasn't the one asking questions. He was the one waiting to confess. Outside the room, reporters swarmed. Cameras flashed. The department buzzed with disbelief. "Why now?" a young officer whispered. Why would he admit to something like that? Because inside that envelope were names. Dozens of names. Men he had arrested. Men he had framed. Some were still behind bars. Some had died waiting for appeals that never came. And now, after years of lies, guilt, and silence, Detective Michael Carter was ready to do the one thing he'd never done in his career: tell the truth. Today, we take you deep into the mind of a man once celebrated as a hero, Detective Michael Carter. A man praised for cleaning up the streets, honored for his justice, and trusted by an entire city. But behind every medal and handshake was a secret buried under years of guilt, power, and corruption. In this chilling story, we'll uncover how a respected officer built his career on lies, how innocent lives were destroyed in the name of ambition, and how karma, slow but certain, came knocking on his door. Stay with us, because what unfolds next isn't just a story about crime. It's a story about conscience. But every story of downfall begins somewhere quiet, long before the headlines, long before the guilt. For Michael Carter, it began on an ordinary morning inside the precinct, when the line between right and wrong first started to blur. The courtroom was silent. Only the hum of the fluorescent lights and the slow click of the ceiling fan filled the air. Detective Michael Carter, once decorated and praised, now stood before the judge, hands trembling, voice cracking. I did it," he said softly. "I framed them. All of them." Gasps echoed across the room. Families of the wrongfully convicted stared in disbelief. Some cried. Some shouted. Michael didn't look up. He just stared at the floor, eyes wet, the weight of decades pressing on his chest. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed. News anchors called it the biggest confession in state history. But for Michael, this wasn't about headlines. It was about the ghosts that had haunted him for years, the faces of men he'd put away to protect his own career. Michael Carter had once been the pride of the department, a clean-cut, confident detective known for closing every case. He joined the force in his early 20s, following in the footsteps of his father, a man who believed justice was black and white. Never let a criminal walk, his father had told him, even if the truth is gray. For years, Michael lived by that code. His arrest record was spotless. Promotions came fast. He became a hero, the detective who always caught his man. But behind the praise, something darker brewed. It started small, a little pressure from the chief, a little nudge from the prosecutor. "We just need evidence to make this case stick, Carter. Don't worry, the guy's guilty anyway." And Michael, wanting to impress, wanting to win, started bending the rules. A planted fingerprint here, a rewritten witness statement there, all to make sure the numbers stayed high. He told himself he was doing good, that he was keeping the streets safe. But deep down, he knew, justice built on lies isn't justice at all. At home, his wife Anna noticed the change. "You don't sleep anymore," she said one night. Michael rubbed his eyes. "It's just work." She looked at him carefully. "It's not just work, Mike. It's eating you alive." He didn't answer, because she was right. It all unraveled the day he met Deshaun Miller, a 22-year-old warehouse worker accused of armed robbery. The evidence was thin. The witness was shaky. But the department wanted a conviction, and Michael was the man they trusted to deliver. His partner, Detective Ruiz, hesitated. "Mike, this doesn't add up. The kid's alibi checks out." Michael frowned. "Then make it add up." He altered a timestamp, shifted a piece of evidence, just enough to make it fit. The jury bought it. Deshaun was sentenced to 15 years. But as the young man was led away, he turned and locked eyes with Michael. There was no anger, just heartbreak. "You know I didn't do this," Deshaun whispered. "And one day, the truth will come for you." Those words stuck. They replayed in Michael's mind every night. But the machine of justice kept turning. More cases, more pressure, more lies. Years passed. Dozens of men, mostly poor, mostly black, sat behind bars because of his shortcuts. And Michael's reputation only grew. He became captain, got the awards, the plaques, the salary. But every time he looked at himself in the mirror, he saw a fraud, a coward, a man drowning in guilt. Then, one morning, his world began to crack. A local reporter named Jenna Rowe called him. "Detective Carter, I'm investigating old cases tied to your unit," she said. Michael froze. "Why?" "There are inconsistencies," she replied. "Dozens of them." For the first time in 20 years, he felt fear. Real fear. Michael's calm, controlled world began to fall apart piece by piece. At first, it was whispers, quiet talk in the hallways of the precinct. Then it became headlines. Detectives' old cases under review. Dozens claim wrongful conviction, evidence questioned. Reporters camped outside his house. His phone wouldn't stop ringing. Anna begged him to come clean. "Michael, if you tell the truth now, maybe you can fix this before it destroys you." But his pride wouldn't let him. He kept saying the same line. "I did what I had to do. Those men were dangerous." Except some of them weren't. One day, Michael came across an old file, Deshaun Miller. He read the transcripts again, line by line. The evidence didn't hold. The timeline was broken. The fingerprint, the one that convicted him, didn't even match. Michael sat in his office, staring at the file for hours. That's when he heard the knock on the door. It was Jenna Rowe, the reporter. She stood tall, confident, but her eyes were sharp. "Detective Carter," she said, "I know what you did." Michael didn't deny it. Not this time. He just sighed. "You have no idea what pressure feels like in this job." Jenna leaned forward. "Pressure doesn't make you corrupt. Choices do." He looked away. For the first time, someone had said the truth out loud. And it burned. Days later, the Internal Affairs Division opened an official investigation. Officers he'd once commanded now avoided eye contact. He was suspended, badge taken, gun surrendered. At home, silence filled every corner. Anna barely spoke to him. One night, she packed a small bag. "I stood by you through everything, Mike," she whispered. "But I don't even know who you are anymore." The door closed. He didn't stop her. Alone and stripped of everything that once defined him, Michael sat in his living room surrounded by old case files. The faces of the men he'd put away stared back at him, mugshots, all with the same hollow eyes. He poured himself a drink, but couldn't touch it. His hands shook too much. He opened the file marked Miller, Deshaun. The kid's words echoed in his head. "One day, the truth will come for you." And it had. A month later, a court overturned Deshaun's conviction after new DNA evidence cleared him completely. He walked free after 9 years in prison. Jenna's article exposed the corruption in the department, naming Michael as the key figure behind the falsified evidence. The backlash was immediate. Protests erupted. Families demanded justice. Michael's reputation was destroyed overnight. He tried to avoid the news, but one story broke him completely: Deshaun on live TV. A reporter asked him, "What would you say to Detective Carter if he were here right now?" Deshaun paused. Then he said quietly, "I'd tell him I forgive him, because I won't let his lies be the reason I lose myself." That moment shattered something inside Michael. He turned off the TV and wept, not for himself, but for the boy he'd once been. The one who joined the force to protect people, not destroy them. The next morning, he put on his old suit, the one he used to wear in court, and walked into the police headquarters unannounced. Officers stared as he passed. Some sneered. Some looked away. He entered the chief's office and said simply, "I'm ready to confess." The room was silent when Michael Carter began to speak. His voice was low, but every word carried decades of guilt. "I framed them," he said. "Some because I was told to. Some because it made me look good. But every one of them. I stole their lives." The chief's jaw tightened. "You realize what this means?" Michael nodded. "I do. And I accept whatever comes next." An internal inquiry began. For weeks, investigators dug through old files. Dozens of cases unraveled, each one revealing how evidence was planted, testimonies twisted, and innocent men condemned. News channels broadcast every update. Detective Carter's confession sparks statewide review. Families seek justice for the framed. Michael watched it all from a small apartment, alone, stripped of his badge, his career, and his family. But for the first time in years, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: peace. He began cooperating fully, helping defense attorneys reopen old cases, giving sworn statements to clear the innocent. He spent his own savings hiring private investigators to find the men he'd wronged. One by one, they were freed. Some refused to see him. Others screamed at him. But a few, like Deshawn, simply said, "Thank you for finally telling the truth." Those words didn't erase his guilt, but they reminded him that redemption isn't given. It's earned, piece by piece, through honesty. Months later, Michael was formally charged with evidence tampering and obstruction of justice. He didn't fight it. He walked into the courtroom quietly. No lawyer speeches, no excuses. The judge asked if he had anything to say before sentencing. Michael looked up, eyes hollow but steady. "I took pride in being called a man of justice," he said. "But real justice doesn't hide behind lies. It doesn't pick who deserves truth and who doesn't. I failed this badge, and I failed those men." The room was silent. Even the prosecutor lowered her head. The judge sentenced him to 10 years in prison, reduced for his full cooperation and confession. As he was led away, cameras flashed again, but this time, he didn't hide his face. He wanted the world to see what corruption truly looked like when the mask was gone. 2 years later, inside a state penitentiary, Michael sat in the library reading a letter. It was from Deshawn. "Detective Carter," it began. "I won't say I forget what you did, but I believe in forgiveness. Because holding on to hate just keeps both of us in prison." Michael folded the letter slowly, tears filling his eyes. He looked out the small window, sunlight spilling through the bars. He whispered, "Maybe justice isn't about punishment. Maybe it's about truth." In that moment, for the first time in his life, Michael felt free. Power can corrupt, pride can blind, but truth, no matter how long it's buried, always finds its way to the light. Because justice built on lies will always collapse under the weight of truth. Moral of the story: no matter how long it takes, the truth always comes for those who run from it. And the greatest justice isn't found in the courts, it's found in the courage to admit your wrongs. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to reflect. How many innocent lives have been destroyed by someone's pride, greed, or fear? Justice isn't just what happens in court. It's what happens in our hearts when we choose truth over comfort. If you believe in karma, redemption, and the power of truth, hit that like button, share this story, and subscribe for more real stories that reveal the hidden side of humanity. And remember, what's done in the dark always finds its way to the light.